Good evening and welcome to the Faned Football Show. I am your host, Barry Carr, and you're very welcome to the Week 4 review edition of the show. And you will see I'm currently on my own, but per Shane had a heavy old weekend of it. So subs had to be called in. So me trusty Manchester United bunch of friends decided to step up. And one shouted loudest, and here he is. Please welcome Daniel Carr.
How are we doing?
Daniel, thank you very much for stepping into the void and joining me for.
No problem at all. You need another family person on the show anyway.
Well, this is it. You fill the criteria.
I'm ticking some of the boxes.
A fellow fan of man. So indeed, happy that I am not alone for tonight's episode, and we'll get stuck right into it. It's been another brilliant weekend of football, and a weekend that can often lead to disappointment. A first weekend after an international break can always throw in a few crazy results, but fortunately, a few teams certainly asserted themselves on Saturday and thrust themselves into the title race. Arsenal firmly re-establishing themselves as title contenders. And of course, Tottenham continuing their excellent start under Thomas Frank. And of course, Chelsea having their say, but obviously coming up slightly short. We move on then to Sunday, a massive day of football, the biggest day in the calendar essentially for a United fan really these days. The derby has moved in front of everything else since Man City is the juggernaut that they are. They keep winning league after league after league and overshadowing your crosstown rivals and your beloved Manchester United. Now, I saw you would have been obviously buoyant as per usual going into a derby at the Etihad. I personally favour United going to the Etihad. Vice versa, City all day going to Old Trafford. It's just when you think about the style of play that it's you know you're going to give up much of the ball when you're going to City, and I thought it would suit United down to the ground. I would have thought might have shown a bit more of a competitive edge, but obviously, again, few questionable team selection worries for United. They go with Bayindir again. Don't decide to drop in new keeper Lemons into the I would say slightly hot atmosphere of the Manchester derby. And of course, Benjamin Sesko gets his start up front. So before going into anything about the match, what would you have thought on the bare face of it, just from the lineups are given?
Okay, so like you were saying there, like generally when we go to the Etihad, like we've seen in the last couple of years, even if we've been in a bad run of games, coming to the Etihad, you kind of think, look, anything can happen. It's a one-off game. And I probably was like that going into the game. But as soon as the lineups came out, that thought just completely went out of my head. The team that we were putting out, I was going, okay, no. Like, I didn't like the fact that Bayindir was starting the game. Like, you look at on the opposite side of things, you had Donnarumma going straight into the City team. Like, why are we spending money on a keeper and not sticking him in S to give him a go? Like, against, like, I mean, we've seen the mistakes that have been made, yet you don't start him. It was a strange one to start with. For a game like that as well, the players that we had, I mean, once I seen that Manu wasn't starting either, it's like I don't get it. I don't know what the reason is behind it, because like without even going into the review of the entire game, it's just there wasn't a single player for United that stood out yesterday. Oh. Yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, as soon as the lineups came out, no, I never thought. I mean, like when you look at the two teams, I mean, even the players that City had on the bench to bring on compared to what we had, night and day.
Oh, sure. Look, it was some of their summer business, conducted, did very well in the game. Reinders was excellent, I thought, in midfield. Young O'Reilly did exceptionally well for City in the game, I felt.
Yep.
And Donnarumma, as you pointed out, no fear in dropping him in. Obviously, there's a fairly tangible difference in pedigree.
Yeah.
When you talk about a keeper coming from a fair few storied clubs in Italy and the current reigning European champions, Paris Saint-Germain, to a keeper that's come from Royal Antwerp, who is notoriously long associated with Manchester United as a feeder club. So the starting of Ugarte sort of took me by surprise.
Yeah. Because lately he has not played well. And as we've seen, he was suspect at leading to the first goal for City. If he'd kept in line, it would have been a difference. But like that was the first point. You have Shaw then afterwards. That's a completely different story. But Ugarte has not played well. He's not been the same player that he was at PSG, and it was a strange decision because that the two in midfield that we had versus the three of Cities was not matching up. Like Fernandes and Ugarte versus Reinders, Rodri, and Foden.
Bernardo Silva.
Yeah. I mean,
no, it just doesn't. No, it doesn't line up, and that's where some of the managers, comments about not changing the system. You really need to think about matching up in midfield.
Yeah, it's one of those times when you really need to match up against the team you're going up against. Like there are certain teams that kind of a system is going to work against. Not City. Not with that midfield. Like, they playing three at the back with the wing backs. When you're having who's Doku, Foden, and Haaland versus Shaw, De Ligt, and Euro.
Yeah, that was the alarming thing I felt. He sort of goes with Dorgu and Maz in the fullback position. Fair enough, predictable enough. Then Shaw pops up then on the left hand side midfield. In there with Euro and De Ligt. It's not it for me personally. No. And as I say, then it's Ugarte and Fernandes providing the shield in front of that. Absolutely walking into it. Walking into the tip of the spear. And the Haaland goals are systemic of not getting your foot on the ball and not dominating the middle part of the pitch.
Just even like think of two of the goals. The first goal, Shaw, hugely at fault. I mean, for a Premier League professional player to let Doku walk past him. I actually can't understand as a United fan how in 2025 we have Luke Shaw playing centre back. Yeah. And we talking about the third goal. We have Maguire. Like, don't get me wrong, Maguire has had some very, very good games this season, and obviously last season, he saved us a lot of times. You cannot afford to make mistakes like he did when you have a player like Haaland in front of you.
It's definitely got punished. You definitely got punished with playing too high risk. With,
like I can understand, you know, at a goal down, you're trying to go for the game, but like when we were 1-0 down, it never felt like a game that was going to finish 3-0. Then they got that second goal. The game changed. We were chasing, like, as you can see, like we had nobody in our own half.
Well, look, I feel United need something to go, and the Mbongo chance goes, and Donnarumma is too good for it, and that's sort of the game. You know, what other chances were really falling for United? You know, of a high value. I mean, Ahmad isn't really at it on the day, and as I say, the fullbacks paired with the midfield, it doesn't get the job done. And sure, look, that's the questions the manager faces on the bare face of the result. You know, ultimately, United aren't a worthy adversary for City on the day, and some people can get a wee bit carried away a wee bit easily and saying City's back bang at it again.
No, that was the thing as well.
They weren't half gifted some of them chances. Like it's really poor for the first for Foden. Foden just goes sitting there like he does and nods one in. The Haaland one bursting off the left, too good. And then sure he's just racing from his own half then against Maguire. He hasn't the hope. He has no hope of catching him. And he slots it. I mean, it's at arm's length the whole time.
Yeah.
It's nearly Canelo Terence Crawford stuff. Look, the former great has to just step aside and move out of the way for the current, you know, big hitter in town. And look, as I say, people get a wee bit carried away about what City are. What City are still for me are still a Rodri driven. Rodri has to be excellent to get City going.
100%.
The keeper issue has been sort of allayed for now with Donnarumma. So I think in that sense, you might see a better Ruben Dias, and you might see a better I don't know, who do they really start at centre half now? It's really hard to make out a solid.
Yeah, a consistent. Like there's going to be a consistent spine
for City at the minute. Like Stones there, Ake's there, Akanji's there. Like,
is Akanji still there?
Akanji is currently injured, so I believe he's still there.
Was there not one of them that was supposed to be like loaned out or sold? Because remember there was a thing Fabrizio had tweeted about it.
I think Pals were looking at a Akanji possibility if he left.
Yeah, but I thought there was something that was put out where he was supposed to be going on loan, and Akanji replied back, "I know nothing about this."
I think that's the non-starter. And sure, look, the guy's not fit.
Yeah. But I thought he was going to like Inter or going to Turkey or something. I don't know. Don't know where I'm getting that from.
That being said, to have their own injury worries himself. No Marmoush, no Kovacic, no John Stones, no Ryan Turkey, and no Ryan H. Nuri. They have a brave squad themselves and will, I'm sure, benefit from getting a few of those back. They're still not it for me. They're still two teams.
Like, I mean, this is the team that's lost. Did they lose two in a row?
This is a team that lost 2 in a row there. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, City locked off it there. I mean, it's by no means were City a fantastic team yesterday. the result will make it look like they were. So to somebody who's just watched seen the scoreline afterwards, was assumed, yeah, typical City performance, dominated the game. But really, they haven't been. They're not back to their best yet. Now, obviously, Rodgers getting up and running again, which makes a difference. Once you have everybody fit, like that list of players that you've named there that are currently out injured, they're back fit and they're in that team. That's a very, very different City side.
So Manuel Kanji is currently on loan at Juve. So get him out of your fantasy lineups anyway, that's for sure. He would have been.
I knew somebody had gone.
He would have been high up there in draft night, but no.
Yeah.
Move off him. Still can't manage to get Stones in correctly yet, but
yeah,
when he's fit, I'm sure he's back in there. Sure, look, 3-0 City, and well worth it. And the manager is very much up against it now, and I do feel I've been saying it for a while. I don't think Amorim's the man to fit the mold for digging United out in the quagmire they find themselves in at the minute. And I find it really hard to make a good case for him, Daniel.
No, and I completely understand. Like as a neutral looking in, it just makes sense. Club's not doing well. We're not winning games. Sack the manager. It's the blueprint. I mean, if it's not going well, you sack the manager. You start again. Like, you know me well enough. Whenever the managers have been doing badly, I've never been asking for their heads immediately. I've wanted to give them time. I'm starting to run out of patience with Amorim because, and it happened yesterday. Whenever that game was, once it was 3-0, you knew nothing was going to change in that game, and instantly your thoughts are going, where do you go from here? Like what's next? Like, it's not good. I think it even happened in the commentary when Gary was asked, City will take the positives out of this game. What do United take from this game? And Gary didn't have an answer. Like, there's nothing you could look at in that game and take a positive from. So it's like, when a manager is responsible for a team that has had that kind of a performance, it's very, very hard to think of anything other than getting rid of the manager. Like, if the manager's not willing to change his style of management, if the players are simply not adapting to his style, something's got to give. And unfortunately, at United, it's always been, player power. I thought we'd got rid of those players. Clearly not. Because nothing's going to change anytime soon.
In my own personal viewing of the situation, I've currently seen enough of the Amorim experiment, and I am firmly of the opinion now that the new hot manager is not the solution for Manchester United. You could throw Bournemouth's Areola at it, and he would struggle. You could throw Palace's Glasner at it, and he would struggle. You would throw Chelsea's Maresca at it, and he would struggle. And I actually think Arne Slot would have a real load of trouble getting this team functioning correctly. So, brings you back to Ruben Amorim. Why change when there's nothing really practical and obvious out there to correct the matter? That's a very weak argument for the thing. Now, keep on chopping and changing. It's just this endless cycle of we start again and we start again.
See, there's very much two sides to that. So we have done the chop and change, and I think genuinely every time we've sacked a manager, you've looked at who's available or even if you could take a manager from another club, there's not a single manager that ever popped out going, yeah, they're going to do the job. But we went for different managers. Like I remember when we got Jose, we thought, okay, Jose's a proven winner. He can get something out of this team. Now he got us a Europa League. We had Ollie, who was sort of getting us somewhere. We'll not go into that because I have my own opinions of what happened there. We had Ten Hag coming in. He was again one of those young managers who always have his own philosophy. He came in, brought his own players. Those players flopped. His style didn't adapt. We then have Amram coming in with those players still left for Erik Ten Hag. He's got rid of some of those, brought in his own players. Now he's under scrutiny. If he then leaves and a new manager comes in, you have the same issue of a new manager coming in with the previous manager's players, and it'll just be a rinse and repeat. So we're constantly going to be having this issue of there isn't going to be a manager out there that's going to fix the problem. There's the problem is now getting bigger and bigger at United. It's getting worse by the year. There's not been a time when we thought, yeah, we're turning, we're making the right changes, we're heading in the right direction. Because I think whenever Ineos took over, we thought there's money coming into the club, it's going to be run better, things will change. Seems to have gotten worse. Like even when we made signings, I mean, like I'm not so convinced about the signings. I understand Cunha and I understand Mbuebo, 2 Premier League players, so that's fine. Still don't know about Sesko yet. Finally got a start yesterday. You'd barely know he was on the pitch. Now, that's going to come down to the same issues as the fact that every other striker that's come before that, a lack of service. Like, who was supposed to provide that service yesterday?
Yeah, it's what I'm gleaning from you, Dan. It's just, yeah, it really would have been difficult to take anything positive out of that game. And I would just wonder who is out there that would like at least facilitate a change of fortune, and who at least has a recent case of lifting up traditional big club in England. Well, I would say Unai Emery is the outstanding name, and I would just feel in terms of next manager out the door. I would just think if things at Villa don't improve, in a big way, I would see them possibly moving on because they've sort of got jumpy owners themselves. And if that opportunity presented themselves with not having to buy out another manager, really having to facilitate, the fulfillment of Amram's contract, again, it's more dead money for a club that really is cutting every single corner that they can to save every penny. It really does seem like shooting oneself in the foot for having another change. But I just think for the one final go at it to make a divine change and bring United back in a real way, I think Unai Emery's got to be the man the 2 next time. And we just
Emery there for a second. Is it not mental that we're in this season and we're seriously talking about Emery potentially losing his job at Villa?
It's mad how quick things change in football.
That's like give the season.
Nuno Espirito Santo was flying last season, and Forest were firmly in there for Champions League football.
Yeah,
3/4 of the season, and they were up. They were the one blot in the copybook of Liverpool for a large part of the season. Obviously before the foot comes off the gas, really, for Liverpool. That fixture immediately after the international breaks, that corresponding fixture this weekend, last year, Liverpool lost and sort of stunted the momentum. So that was Nuno Espirito Santo, and he's gone at the first international break this year. And it's Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah.
That's a questionable one. I see the badge you adorn here now, and you would sort of have a bit of a soft spot for Ange Postecoglou. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a strange. I don't think that really is the issue for Nottingham Forest, and sure, look, they're absolutely pasted on Saturday on Ange's first game. I think they registered. I think they registered a really, really terrible XG on Saturday. So, like, the Ange era has not got off to a good start. So, yeah, a crazy world that we're talking about. We're talking about an Unai Emery, not sticking it out with Aston Villa, and would it be United's game to pounce upon that opportunity? I think it's one definitely worth looking at, Daniel, and we'll see, because
if 31 happens,
31 games for Ruben Amorim.
Yeah. I've seen the stats. I've seen there's a stat that went out comparing every United manager, like, in history. Or I'm not even sure how far it's going back, but I mean, some of the names was on that list. He was very, very bottom in terms of his win percentage.
Well, I've seen an interesting one, and it seems to be every season we get the worst United start since, and we have the worst United start since 1992-93.
The thing that always happened, I hated hearing it. Whenever we go into a game, and the commentators would talk about this team haven't beaten United since, and they could be talking 10, 15 years ago. And like, oh, for fuck's sake, here we go. This is the day they're going to beat us, isn't it? And then as the game goes on, why did they mention it? Like, this record we've had for so long where we haven't lost to this team on this ground. Then we create a new record that we don't want. And I mean, I think we're starting to do a record that was, like, out of our first 4 games, we've only scored 1 goal from play.
Oh,
because we've had like 2 own goals.
Have you registered like the second lowest goals from open play XG, I think.
Yeah, because we had penalty from Bruno, and then there was 2 own goals. So yeah, I think it was only 1 goal from open play. It probably was
in Bournemouth.
Yeah,
in Bournemouth last weekend, or before the international break.
Yeah.
Things were all right, after the Bruno penalty, I think, and I just think it got him through the international break. I would wonder what are things going to be like by the time we get to the next international break. Yeah, by the way, good news today is there will be one agonizingly long international break next autumn, which I will take as a positive. I think
we're less than 3 weeks till the next international break.
And we should look. The first batch of games had the doom coming after 3 games, and then this one, it might be, you might have the interlude of Champions League and EFL Cup rounds now to sort of pad it out a bit. We're into 3 games a week territory now. So we won't feel as bad. But I mean, as a now hopeless Irish fan, the international breaks are none of our
Yeah.
business, really. Burnley Liverpool. What can we say? I think you would have seen the Burnley side to good fashion when you played them last match day.
Yeah,
and they were
honestly, they were hard done by.
They were every bit the immense defensive unit that I expect them to be. That being said, I would have been confidently getting a few when United got 3 against them.
Yeah.
But sure, look, it's a different ball game, Turf Moor, and Liverpool won 5 on the bounce now at Turf Moor. But to my mind, only one of them was like a kind of semi all right 3-0 on a 3:00 Saturday kickoff, where it sort of was the front three show, and it sort of just kept us going. That there yesterday was like market champion stuff. They will keep going. The red card helps them, certainly. I think he was preparing Rio Ngoma and Jeremy Frimpong before that. I just think it might have been with more confidence he withdrew Konate after that red card. And sure, look, Liverpool will push to the final death, and sure that's been every fixture this season. They'll go to the death, and they get their. They certainly use a fair smidge of their champions' luck, but good lord, it's a huge lapse in concentration by Hambo Mejri, and coolly dispatched penalty by Mohamed Salah firmly states that Mohamed Salah may be having a fairly quiet patch of his Liverpool career at the moment, and yet he's still the decisive kicker of the ball to decide a result.
Well, definitely in that kind of moment, last kick of the game to win the game, he's probably going to be your first choice. There's very few other players in that Liverpool team you're going to take over him to score that penalty.
Well, I can't think of anyone else step up in that moment, to be honest. And it's the big players for the big moments. And I just wonder. I'd wonder when Isaac gets going in a big way, when he sort of started muscling in on the old penalty situation. That being said, Salah's chasing goal records and is now clear 4th all time in Premier League goal scoring ranks. He's
still has time.
He's chasing down Wayne Rooney this season, so I would say everyone step aside, moves on penalties until AFCON. I know that's for sure.
Yeah, so that's the thing as well. Like, this season, you probably built the team a lot better based on that, because obviously we're going back quite a bit in time. But like the year when you had both Mane and Salah gone for the AFCON, having a massive impact on the team. But like now you can have Salah go, and
they both got to the final.
Yeah. So you've lost them for the longest possible amount of time they could have been away for. Yeah, you'd want them to get knocked out in the group stages, but yeah, that wasn't going to happen. But like this year, you shouldn't have that issue. Like you have plenty of backup there that's going to step up and fill in for him. Like I think that's the thing you're talking about. Salah going through a quiet period at Liverpool.
Thankfully, Hugo Ekitike got capped by France there in the last international break because Cameroon was sniffing about.
Yeah, that probably was the deciding factor then in going for him.
Mm.
Because you're not going to go inside him and then just have him go for a couple of months then in January.
So look,
But yeah,
to many people's surprise, Alexander Isaacs left out in the matchday squad going to Burnley. Now, to the average viewer, it would seem sort of sacrilege. You spend £125 million on a centre forward, and he's not involved in any shape or form.
yeah,
If you're still going for 94 minutes and still need a goal, would it not have been nice to have the services of Alexander Isaac in some shape or form when clearly good enough for 20 minutes for a losing effort for Sweden in Kosovo during the international break? I just want to say I believe in the sports science side of things, and it's more beneficial for Alexander Isaac to stay and have a bit of a mini preseason for more than a week, and then gets a proper run out then against Atletico Madrid, where that's on Wednesday. It sort of supersedes the need for like a 10-minute cameo, and then it reduces down his time to like 15, 20 minutes then against Atletico Madrid. Whereas I think he's probably got the chance now of featuring more heavily now against Atletico Madrid. And sure, look, it's a home game, so it just works out a bit better. And sure, look, I trust the manager. The manager seems to know way better than me, and I respect that. And I respect the fact that we will warm up Alexander Isak gently and only thrust him in when he's fully ready to go. And I think Virgil van Dijk, he almost even seconded that idea that we're happy he's here, but we want to get him up to our fitness level before he's able to really have an impact on this team.
The one thing I would get from that is slightly worrying is, okay, so he didn't play a game for Newcastle, and he wasn't training with the first team. Are they basically saying that he's not professional enough to have trained properly by himself or with the reserves? Like, you're spending that much money on a player, yet you're worried that this player hasn't been professional enough to keep himself fit and match ready. That would just be a concern for me. Like, if I was Alexander Isak and the first game that I'm available to play, I'm not played, I'd be thinking, okay, what's the issue here?
Do you think Isak would be upset about being left out?
Well, obviously, coming from the fact that he wanted to get out of Newcastle, I think he's delighted just to be at Liverpool. But at the same time, if I'm a player coming into a club with a huge price tag like he has, and I'm not even on the bench for the first game I'm available, I would be questioning things. Like, realistically, I would be thinking he's fit enough. Okay, he's played for his country. Fair enough, it was a short cameo, but he was obviously fit enough to play for his country. Why not give him 10, 15 minutes in the Premier League, get him up and running in a competitive game? So then he's ready to go then in the Champions League. Like, his first game in the Champions League, that's added a bit more pressure to it. Now when he plays his first game, if he is in the starting lineup against Atletico, there's going to be a lot more pressure on him in that game than him playing 10 or 15 minutes against Burnley.
Don't get me wrong, Daniel. I think there'll be a huge question mark over the decision if the game finishes 0-0 at Turf Moor. I think would it not been the case that, look, he's just thrown on with 10 minutes to go just to occupy that space whenever they go down to 10 men, for example. Like, you have that upper hand at that point of view. But I appreciate your looking in from outside opinion, and I just feel I would not do anything to harm the players' long-term chances of having an effect in pretty much what I hope to be a 60-game plus season this season. I would far rather have Alexander Isak for the majority of those games if I just hold him back a little bit initially, where clearly he hasn't had the same level of preseason that everyone else has had. That's clear to see. He stepped aside from Newcastle and trained individually. Would have trained.
Obviously, training is not going to be the same as playing even preseason games.
He would have certainly trained to a higher standard, probably away with Sweden, and with actual match playing scenarios with Sweden, which would have helped him. And look, I think even Arne Slot he's even thanked the sort of Sweden setup for handling him so well when he was away.
Yeah, because was it not a case where he would just want to make sure that they weren't using him too much then either, especially him coming fresh out of a non-pre-season?
Yeah, look, they were definitely talking, and they're happy with the sessions that he took part in with Sweden, and look, felt comfortable with the idea of leave him at home for the entire week, and then we'll look at Atletico Madrid then as a possible starting point for him. So I think
would you say he's going to start?
Because obviously Liverpool get the result over the line, but I can certainly see where the outsiders looking in would sort of have something to say about the situation. But look, just to extrapolate on the situation, that's now late intervention in 4 out of 4 games.
Yeah.
You've had the Chiesa late intervention, Bournemouth. Yeah. You've had the really late Rio and Omaha intervention at St. James's Park. You've had the late-ish Szoboszlai set piece. That's the difference between themselves and Arsenal. And then you have this last-minute stuff again at Burnley. Is it sort of quite like a Fergie heyday United team just getting the job done, or are Liverpool just riding their luck a wee bit, Daniel?
No, that's what I was going to say. There's obviously 2 ways you can look at it. You can look at it that you could say Liverpool have been poor, getting out of it by the skin of their teeth. Or you can look at it as a mark of champions who, even in a game where they struggle, they will get that winning goal to get them over the line. Because ultimately, doesn't matter how bad that game has went, the record books are only going to show you that 1-0 scoreline. That's ultimately what it's going to be about. Come the end of the season, if you've won the Premier League by 6 points, 9 points, you look back in those games where you just, even if you only think of you stole a victory, that's going to be the game that does it. Okay.
United are literally 2 points down on what every dog and cat predicted they'd be on before the season started.
Okay.
Fair.
Is that good or bad?
What do you think of that one?
Considering where we finished, where did most people see us being right now?
Jesus. Everyone saw United at least climbing back into the top 8.
I mean, you just think the opening fixtures we've had. We've had what, four fixtures.
I think a lot of people would have had them outside shout for 4th. I think
even Gary Neville has said top 5.
I think a lot of people would have said there's doubts about what Chelsea are doing, and that's a place vulnerable for grabbing. And could United with the summer business be in position? Amorim with full pre-season. I think there's a legitimate case to say, yeah, United have sort of underperformed from what we expected so far this season. And I think legitimate case to like not panic. I think a legitimate case to like say certainly there's encouragement to be gleaned that we're not there yet, and perhaps with more consistent run, and look, you'll know more from what you've done wrong at the weekend. You'll hopefully have learned more from that. Certainly,
Okay.
certainly
There is just a little issue there. We need a run of games for some consistency. Our next game, Chelsea.
Yeah.
Is it before the next international break or after the international break? We're against Liverpool.
Oh, we're October 19th or something like
So
that.
that must be after.
That'll be after.
Yes, that's probably going to be the first one after.
So look, in terms of getting it right now, it's really the objective, isn't it?
Right. So these 3 or 4 games we were having between these 2 international breaks, plenty of forms of them in for United. You're looking at the 4 games. What's the amount of points you think you're going to get from these 4 games? Optimistically, I was saying 7.
Basically, Chelsea at home, Brentford away, and then Sunderland at home. Then we have an international break.
Yeah.
Then you have a trip to Anfield.
So within the first 9, 10 games, we're going to have played Arsenal, Chelsea, City, and Liverpool.
If you go 2-2 from here, I think it would be expected. If you go 2-1-2-0 from here, if you go draw, win, defeat, that would be tremendously overachieving.
Yeah, so we're banking or counting on a draw against Chelsea. Now, to be fair, that's a fixture that has played out quite a few draws over the last couple of seasons.
Well, look, I think Chelsea have looked a wee bit short from the finished article this season. Fair, they were.
The thing I would say, Chelsea have surprised me. Chelsea have surprised me.
Yeah, well, look, they went and won that game on Saturday, and then conspired to throw it away. So they're dropping silly points.
Yeah,
they're dropping silly points, and the points they're gaining, they're sort of, baseless. They batter West Ham. That's nothing remarkable this season.
No,
and they have a nice looking 2-0 home win to Fulham, and it's completely VAR chaos filled, that fixture altogether. So look, I think draw, win in United's next 3, and then possibly bouncing into Anfield with a real vigor, thinking this just upset the apple cart here.
Yeah.
After the international break, where something could happen. Sure, look.
Oh, yeah, look.
McAllister seems to be on the end of a rough tackle every week these days, and nothing being done about it. So, Liverpool players getting protected, certainly not happening.
Yeah. Can we even think about that? Like, that are the referees trying to kind of turn a blind eye to the tackles on Liverpool players?
I'm not upset that it's a yellow card for Hugo Chukwu for the McAllister one, but I do think it's met the criteria for what's been a red card for many a challenge. This
There's also been red cards given for less.
Because like winning the ball and the follow through being totally out of control. I'll tell you something. It's a scary looking tackle in the end. Dan, we've reached that time of the show where we like to throw out a charitable hand, and we're finding it an exciting time of the season where goals happen. So surely all the big guns are going to be getting off to a flyer in the Champions League. So first and foremost, Real Madrid at home to Marseille, yes. Tottenham at home to Villarreal, yes indeed. Liverpool at home to Atletico Madrid, absolutely. Paris Saint-Germain home to Atalanta, absolutely. And Inter Milan losing Champions League finalists, going to Amsterdam and winning. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Team accumulator comes out 9.2 to 1. Does that get your fiver, Daniel?
Like there's a good chance of that happening. Yeah.
Sure. Look, Champions League, none of your business this season, Daniel. I don't expect you to take much of an interest. I'd assume you'll be tuning into the soaps. You'll be tuning into the soaps for the midweek.
Well, I'll try and find some sort of a hobby for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights, because
even the jersey you're adorning there, they'll not be a factor until Thursday night. So
exactly.
Sadly,
it's gonna be a quiet year.
certainly a quiet year underway at Ibrox, which is still continuing to raise a few eyebrows. The ill-advised trip north from Bonnie Blue to Ibrox certainly did not result in Rangers getting lucky on the weekend against them.
No.
Daniel, I am immensely grateful for having your company for this week's show.
No problem at all.
Filling the gap in for Shane. Delighted to have the viewer contribution from Shane as well. Good to know he's still living, and hope that he's fit and raring to go after next weekend's games. And sure, there'll be always plenty to talk about, and we will look forward to picking this up again. And sure, look, Daniel, any final words for the viewers?
No, just happy to be part of the show. Hopefully, be able to provide some sort of insight from a United fan.
Well, I would say I'm a bit more of a restrained United fan this week.
Yeah,
because the humours would be slightly hotter than usual.
Yeah,
I'll think Sunday. Look, it's been a joy. Thank you very much for joining us.
no problem at all.
Speak to you later.